Lord, Lord, you are the creator of all that is. We come to your presence this day with thankful hearts. We give thanks to you for the bounty of your blessings, for the love of families, friends, and comrades. O God, we ask your strength and guidance throughout this day. Grant that your blessings upon this meeting and each participant and the work they represent. Amen.
Amen.
Now I would like to turn it over. This is our suicide prevention class, and there's no one better than the man that's going to teach it, and it's Ron Ringo. So Ron, I'm going to mute, and I'm going to let you take over. So thank you, Ron.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to need to have the share screen ability so I could utilize the PowerPoint when
Okay, I'm going to try and get it. You should be able to.
Okay, I'll try it when I get there. I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be here with all of you tonight. It's an awesome honor to be with all of you who are.
When we did this before, you took my chair and sat next to me, and I managed this. So you can see whoever's talking.
When I find that, I'll help with muting.
I think it's
I got
Marjorie.
it. I got it.
All right. So
thanks, Ron.
No worries. But you all are doing an amazing job as being a chaplain for your groups, your chapters, your states. And I just commend you for being willing to do that. It's a unique opportunity to be the chaplain. Some of you may be clergy minded, and some of you may have no clue or had no desire to be a clergy type person or a spiritual type person. But as part of serving in the leadership of your local organization, that's something they asked of you, and you stepped up to the plate. And I appreciate you doing that. One of the things that we come across, unfortunately, especially being veterans in the military, and many veterans also go into first responder type roles, we have a concern about suicide. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight, suicide awareness. And I'm going to use a program that the military and most social services agencies utilize now. And I've modified it because it's a proprietary type thing, but I've used a lot of their materials just to give you an overview and to help you with understanding how to deal with folks that might be considering or under depression or going through life struggles that they would maybe consider harming themselves or somebody else. And so as chaplains, we're often somebody to go be a listening ear, a shoulder to lean on, or just somebody to walk alongside our fellow comrades, our fellow brothers and sisters who are struggling with whatever life is bringing to them at this particular time. And so that's what I've been asked to share with you a little bit tonight. And we'll see if I can come on here, share the screen. All right, do you guys see that? Okay. And then I will go to there. So I sent out some material. I don't know if it was able to be sent out to all the chaplains, but it was just some informational material on by Living Works, who has put together what most organizations are now using as the suicide awareness protocol. And it's based on being community minded, being aware of the people around you, and being there to assist them. And so they've come up with the acronym, as we do in the military, applied suicide intervention skills training. And so this, like I said, is just going to be a quick overview about what it actually is and give you some understanding of what that does. Down here at the bottom, I put this together after I retired from the military as a Navy Marine Corps chaplain. I was called back by the DoD to be in charge of a CRADO, Command Religious Education Development Operation. They love these acronyms. And throughout Europe, and went around all of Europe for 2 years, providing suicide awareness workshops, as well as family retreats and personal growth retreats and such, to help our military personnel and their families understand the stressors that go through. And so many of you are having those people now in your home organizations and having the normal struggles of life that hit us all. And they're part of your team now that you might be able to assist. And it's basically a community-based, being aware of those around you. I do have a few little videos to help not be just the boring me. So.
Hi, I'm Chaplain Ringo, a former infantry Marine and Marine recruit, and a father of a 2-tour Iraq veteran Marine. We have all been through countless suicide awareness trainings, but this one's different. First, I want to say that you, the person, is what's most important. More important than any financial issue, any broken relationship, any work mishap, or anything else. Over the past several years, we've seen an increase of approximately 30% in the rate of suicide and suicide attempts in the military. As leaders, it's important to know that these are just the confirmed numbers. Realistically, the numbers are much higher. It's also vital to know that the demographics within our military are the most vulnerable. I'm often asked, how do I recognize when somebody really needs help? Sometimes we don't even know there's problems when there are. We just know something's wrong. Even the strongest among us, when the problems do build up, contemplate suicide. Suicide is not the answer. Are you or someone you know at risk of suicide? Hi, I'm Chaplain Ringo.
So what happens is life hits us and we have contributaries, things that come into our life that cause stressors, that, make life interesting, fun, and sometimes a struggle. And then we start having difficulties that cause little dams, cause little blockages. And then we start thinking, well, there's got to be a better way. I'm getting tired of these feelings. And people start contemplating suicide. And then it gets a little bit worse as we go downstream and we start to see some suicide behaviors. And then unfortunately, things happen and they ultimately complete suicide. What we want to talk about tonight is seeing and recognizing and knowing some ways of helping those around our area to hopefully get them the proper help and care and do the things that we can to assist them. Many of the people that you have coming home and in your local chapters and organizations are like this particular Marine that you're going to see now.
We just got hit by 9 IEDs and I drove the truck right into a ditch. Look at that. That is the biggest IED we've hit yet. I couldn't see anything in this. Woo! Tony says, keep driving. And I drove into a ditch. This is where we got hit.
These are our kids. These are our comrades. When you're in the heat of battle and you go through different things in life, sometimes we don't recognize how serious it is. And we have that, and first responders do this as well. We have that kind of chuckle, that laugh, that nervous laugh that goes on. Things that, we think help us get through those times. Well, this is what happens to most of us after we quiet down a little bit.
I seriously hope we don't have to go through anything like that.
So we want to have an ability to understand how to help them post-vention. And part of that is by doing prevention. And that's what we hopefully will talk a little bit about tonight, to reduce the things that contribute. We found that most people that struggle with post-traumatic stress had some kind of traumatic stress before they were ever in combat, be it growing up or in a major car accident and lost the life of a buddy in high school or something. Things that knocked our defenses down a bit, that contributed to our inability to have all the resources to help us process properly. And so what we want to learn is how to be kind of a person that can help with some of the intervention, especially as chaplains, as that person who's expected to be a little bit more caring in most of our organizations. In 2023, the population in the United States was around 333 million. Reported suicides were around a little over, actually it was a little over 50,000. Unreported suicides were about 5 to 25% more than that. Suicidal behaviors are 40 to 100 times greater than the number of suicides. So people out there considering it, having some of the behaviors that we're going to talk about are considerably more than actually do it. So obviously something is helping them not to complete suicide. Hopefully that's those around them. The number of people affected in each suicide behavior, I mean, the number's just large. And then people with thoughts of suicide, out of the 333 million, it's about 18 plus million that consider it. That's a pretty big number of people that are struggling. I would tend to probably think that the number is higher than that since the time that we've been going through the pandemic and everything, and people were stuck at home. Job situations changed drastically during that period of time, and it's just starting to get running a little bit smoother as we pull out of that pandemic time. Well, some of the quick questions I'm going to ask you as chaplains, as leaders: have any of you known somebody who has suicided? Probably most of us have, especially in our type of organizations and stuff where we have high military. This is basically statistics for the average person in the country, but our numbers would probably be a little bit higher than this, that we actually know more people. Has anyone you know had suicidal behavior? These are things just for you to ponder. Have you ever, and I can't see some of these things, have you ever been a helper to a person at risk to suicide? Have you had a friend that's thought about it and you got them to the proper help, to a doctor, to a counselor? Of those you've been able to help, how many times has that happened to you? Some of us live in areas that might be more prevalent. How prepared do you feel to help a person at risk of suicide? That's why we're here tonight. It's just to give us a little bit of understanding. This isn't going to make anybody an expert for an hour's training, but we're here just to talk about it, to be aware of it, and to have what people put together to be pretty much the gold standard of suicide awareness. These are just little things for you to think about. Where do you hear the most about suicide? Is it newspaper articles or books or different things that you've heard, reading it on the internet? Have you ever had thoughts of suicide? No. Many of us have had stressors in life. Is it something that we've considered, that it wasn't a real option, but we may have even just considered it? Many of our military personnel do different things to try and overcome the feelings that they have. These are a couple of tattoos that you see on a lot of our guys. Another similar to it, because of the feelings that they're having of survivor guilt or things that they had to experience in combat. Some other personal questions just to think about to yourself. Who would you tell if you had thoughts of suicide? This is an important thing for you to give some consideration. Also, for those who you might be able to assist, this would be a question to ask them. Okay, I'm sorry you're feeling that way. Who would be a good person to help talk through this? A friend, a clergy person at church, a co-worker, a family member? Our job as chaplains and as suicide awareness assistants would be to help the person know where to go and to walk alongside them to help them. To anyone who has considered suicidal thoughts in the past, as it says here, I'm really glad you're here. Because as I stated in the first little video, all those things are things. Financial stressors, the relationships, but what's most important is you, the person. And that goes for you as the chaplain, helping those. It's most important to help the person, that we can get them the help. We can get them financial counseling. We can get them marital counseling. We can help people. The problem is at the moment, they feel like there's no help. Our job is to primarily, as suicide awareness providers, helpers, is to help them to stay safe now. And if this is new to you, we help them stay safe now, then let others, the professionals, whoever you get them to, let them take over. And then as we grow in experience in doing this, and this is a work that you would like to help others in, we help them to safety now, always still the primary factor, and then provide some support for the person that you give that person to help them during the crisis. And then we get to the point where we might even be the main caregiver with proper training and experience. So we have these contributaries, thoughts of suicide behaviors, and then unfortunately some who follow through with it. And these are generally some of the different things that people go through along that path. There's actions, words, feelings, there's physical, emotional things that go on. These is just a list for you to have some awareness of some of the things that go through people's minds when they're contemplating.
Not just
Well,
once, all soldiers need this, all Marines who've been combat need this. It's going to depend on what they have when they're going in, what their experience is, and what they need when they come out. And they may not need it as soon as they come out, but the only way we know that is to sit down and have a conversation with them. So at a minimum, with every soldier who's coming out, every Marine who's coming out, there needs to be an opportunity for them to sit down with somebody and process a bit of where they're at and to see what they need. And not just say they all need this or they all need that. What they all need is some attention, some individualized professional attention to sort out where they're at. And for many of them, there will be a lot of symptoms that need to be managed. And thought field therapy is a way to do that. There's other ways to do it. But we owe them at least that.
What happens is they transition home very quickly. And before they know it, they're expected to be, we call it combat to Kmart. One day they're in Iraq shooting at someone. The next day they're pushing their 2-year-old around in the car at Kmart.
Yeah, it was just before a lot of these Marines went to war. They were all motivated. They're going to go take care of business. Knowing the reality of life. You grow up real quick, realize it isn't quite what you saw. Reality is real at home.
sound in this thing is not good.
Ricochets singing by your ears, hearing the sound of bullets, or having an RPG coming your way. Take you all out. It makes them grow up real quick. You realize it isn't as exciting as they thought it might to be in combat, especially if they see one of their buddies moving.
So what that was meant to share is that people come out of the situations, the people that are in your organizations, all veterans of foreign wars, of combat situations, have experienced things differently. And what the most important thing that any of us could ever do is trying to understand them, to sit down and have a conversation, to not be afraid to talk to them, especially if you're in the role of a chaplain. You don't have to fix it. You're just there to facilitate their needs. That's the number one thing I teach my chaplains, helping others to walk alongside and to help facilitate their needs, finding them the proper course of action to help them with whatever they're struggling with. And that's what we can do as leaders and as chaplains. So we are trying to connect with them. All healing in the therapy world, it's said that all healing is done in relationship. And so relationship means, being aware of your people in your organization, locally and statewide, helping one another. And that's what we're here to do, is to be there for our comrades, connecting, understanding, helping to know what their story is, helping them to know that you're here listening and supporting. And then what we want to do is help them to think that there's other options, other things that they can be doing than considering suicide. That the VFW, their local organization, their local group is there to assist them in helping them find what they might need. We know that life is challenging. We know that life for veterans is even more challenging because of some of the experiences that might be lingering longer with some of us. This little sign says, suicide does not end the chances of life getting worse, but suicide eliminates the possibility of it ever getting better. And that is so true. We want to help try and prevent that. We want to assist in the life opportunities. We want to let them know that we care and that we understand and that we're there for them.
Going to combat, and being like this, the war dog that we call, and now you got to go back to being a Marine, a spread away Marine, haircuts, this, that, the routine that everybody follows in the Marine Corps. Some people it was easy, some people it wasn't. It's not easy to adapt yourself and change back. You know what I mean? Not after sometimes people never kill. Nobody expects to go over there and lose their friend too. I think that affected a lot of us. Lose close people. Well, for me, I know I'm always gonna have to deal with a lot. There's a living style for everyone. Yours definitely changed. I think that there's lots can be done, but we have to have the will, and we have to have the leadership that says, let's spend the money and the time to do it. Because in the end, we pay the price anyway. When you look at the homeless population, what do we know? Half of them are vets. A third of them are combat vets. When we look at drug and alcohol programs, who predominates? We pay the price anyway. Why not let's do it right and actually help people and maybe end some of the suffering?
When they were finally able to let some of the wall down, and they started to be open to the interventions that we did, it was an amazing process to watch them go from very hurt, very angry, completely to being sort of a distant memory.
God field therapy is it's a new approach to understanding the way people operate and the way that we deal with our feelings and manage our feelings. The short explanation is that it's a way to eliminate overwhelming emotional distress by tapping on the treatment points in specific sequences. And what we're doing is we're using the meridian treatment points, the places they would put acupuncture needles or do acupressure in Chinese medicine, to use those meridians as a way to access the most fundamental control mechanism in the mind, spirit, body.
So the reason why I share that is that I want you to know that it's not all up to you. There are a lot of modalities out there. It could be yoga. It could be horticulture therapy. It could be equine therapy. In the military, we used thought field therapy because it could be done right there on the scene. We use it with law enforcement a lot as well, where you're just tapping meridian treatment points like Dr. Bray talked about that you would normally use in acupuncture, but it helps alleviate the overwhelming emotional response that comes up, that wells up when we're having flashbacks or when we're having thoughts of overwhelmness that we can't take anymore, and we start considering about the possibility of suicide. So it's an immediate thing that can be helped, and there are many other modalities out there that as chaplains, we can help guide people to, as well as being that understanding comfort and companion who walk alongside or help them get to that help. My son was one of those Marines that we're seeing in these clips. He's the one with the tattoos. He struggled. He was a Marine sniper and did 2 tours with his unit. They were there the first day in Anazaria, and then they were there. They came home. They were home for about a month, and then they were back to do to be back in Iraq when they did the election and the purple finger thing, that the Iraqis did to show that they voted. And on the last couple of days that they were there, they lost 5 of their comrades in a patrol, and that really sent them over the edge. Yeah. My son, having been the chaplains, I floated home with the first 2 waves of Marines from Iraq, and my son was on one of the last ships I came home on. Even though I'm the Marine Corps resident expert in suicide awareness, and my son was one of them, I needed to get him assistance from somebody else because I was dad. And we have to do the same thing with our comrades. If we're too close to somebody, sometimes we just need to help them. But one of the things that we do want to do is, like in this picture, is go and be with them. My son, when he got back, was laying tile. That's what you're seeing here in the background. And so I took a couple days off and just laid tile with him, or laid rock on floors with him, to spend time with these guys and talk with them, as Dr. Bray was mentioning. That is one of the major things we can do to help our comrades, is to just not let them be alone and find out what's going on. Have an honest desire to be there to help them with whatever might be struggling. So suicide awareness is being aware of these things. We have life, time, and relationship. And how they connect with suicide is much like this. In life, suicide means death. Their choices, they feel, are uncertain. And then with time, most of the time they're concentrated on the past. I can't handle what's been going on. With somebody we get to a point where they're understanding, they're thinking more a little bit about the present time, and then helping them away from the suicidal ideations. They're thinking about life and the future, and we try to help them get to that point. When somebody's considering suicide, they often feel like they're alone, and that's what we want to prevent. If they're slowly moving away from that, we're getting them engaged, involved in our organizational activities, or getting them in a support group, or helping them with finding one of those therapies that might be helpful to them. And they will feel supported, which is what we want them to feel. So again, this is kind of the layout. If they're considering suicide, they're kind of feeling like death's the answer. They're thinking primarily of the past, and they're feeling alone. If we're trying to get them to the other point here, where they're feeling supportive, wanting life, and it might mean that we have to get them to feeling that, well, okay, maybe suicide isn't the best answer. So we want them to have some uncertainty about that there are possibilities other than that. We want them to start thinking about the present and being engaged in activities.
have to make sense out of what's happened. We have to be able to put a temporal spatial map to the events and to our experience. And that's how we make sense of our lives.
We can teach our Marines how to help those other Marines through thought-filled therapies, through just basic crisis intervention skills. And that's the way to do it. That is the way into the hearts and minds of the Marine Corps, is through other Marines. It's not through people like me, because it would take people like me months to get in, where a Marine could walk into a room and say, you know, this is who I am.
And what she's meaning by that is take the word Marine and make it veteran. And the best help comes from fellow veterans. And that's us in the VFW, in your local chapters and your local organizations. Knowing how to help one another and being there for them is the most important thing that we could be doing for helping, being aware and preventing suicide.
I'll never know that. Because you can tell them deepest darkest secret and they won't judge you for it.
The Marines stick together all the time. You know, we train together, stick together around the fields, go into the field together, and you know, we suffer together, and we seem to stick together all the time, working
We
together.
get captions here. That would be.
Either, you know, the Marines,
That's what I was thinking. We need that because we can't make out what they're saying. But I didn't see that before.
gotta work together to stay alive. I'm glad I met all of them. All the guys I met, really glad I met them. They're all a bunch of good guys. A lot of them are like more than brothers. After designing the awarded transition program, the Marine Corps knows that this is just a
Well, it's not necessarily the captions of what they're saying. It's what other people are writing in, I think.
experience difficulties.
If you live in a place where you have soldiers and Marines who are coming home, let them know how much you appreciate them. And let them know that they're an important part of the community.
It's in your mind. There's not a day that goes by I don't think about what goes on over there. What's happened to us both times. The friends I've lost and people I really didn't know that didn't.
This is what he's saying. Okay.
Never want to see anybody die, but that's what happened in Iraq. And they come home safely, although not all of his buddies did.
That's better.
It's an awesome experience to have a son who's served honorably. He's had his struggles. It has affected him. I'm so proud of all he accomplished. Amount of combat he's things I was worried about came to life, and I know we'll be a part of his life from now on. I just love him. I'm proud. My father seeing his son serve on him. You know, if we're the ones who voted to make this happen, then we owe them a debt. If we're the ones who didn't work hard enough to keep it from happening, then we owe them a debt.
And that's what we do in our service organizations as the VFW or in the DAV and others, American Legion. You know, that's what we're here for, to help those who were willing to go to combat, to serve their fellow man. And as our service organizations are out there, our job is to help them stay healthy and enjoy the life after serving. That's why you're in the positions you're in. Having been commanders or chaplains, that's what we're here to do, to help them know that they are important, that they are here and they're appreciated for the work that they did in the military. And now we're here to help them receive the benefits that they need, the care that they need, so that they can live a happy, healthy life. Just things to consider. Unfortunately, after 2 tours in Iraq, you think you're, as a parent, you're worried that when they're in combat, that they might be, their life might be taken during combat. He came home, did really well, worked with a VA program. He was working on a truck and was killed when the truck came down on him. So you just never know. But our job is to be there for our people and assist them to have the best life that they can have. And it's okay to get others to help. You don't have to do it alone. As the chaplain, you're not the sole provider of doing this work. What you can be is the resource person to know who to go to. If there's a local VA clinic in your area or hospital, be in touch with them. Know who the different counselors or people in the VA are, so that you can say to your comrades, hey, I've been over to the clinic. I've been over to here. I know these folks. Many of us are sometimes leery of some of the VA stuff, but I know these guys are really trying to do what we can to help our guys. If you need something, I can recommend going over and seeing John over at the VA. So being aware of some of the resources in your particular area where you live is what you could be doing as a chaplain. When I teach my chaplains clinical pastoral education, CPE, that's what I try to get them to do, is wherever they may be a chaplain in their community, be aware of the resources in your area so that you could have them at the ready for those in your organization. What we don't want to do is to think that we know it all. And this little video is just to lighten it up here towards the end. Oh, so I can go back to it.
Again, this is the USS Montana requesting that you immediately divert your course 15 degrees to the north to avoid a collision. Over. Please divert your course 15 degrees south to avoid a collision.
This is Captain Hancock. You will divert your course. Over.
Negative, Captain. I'm not moving anything. Change your course. Over.
So, this is the USS Montana, the second largest vessel in the North Atlantic Fleet. You will change course 15 degrees north, or I will, of course, take measures to ensure the safety of this ship. Over.
This is a lighthouse, mate. It's your call.
Sometimes we think we know it all. And sometimes when we're in positions of power, we think we're going to make our will be the will of what's going to happen. Well, that steaming cruiser there wasn't going to get that lighthouse to move. The lighthouse was trying to share, you need to move, buddy, or you're going to be on the rocks. And so as chaplains, we're kind of that lighthouse at times. We're there to help share with others that, hey, we see that some things are going on, or you've mentioned that some things are going on. We're here for you, and we are wanting to help you get the proper help and make the proper course corrections. So, that's what we're all trying to do. Connect them with the proper help You know, we've seen celebrities that unfortunately have gone that route as well. There's emergency phone numbers for suicide prevention. That is one of those things that you could have at the ready to be aware of. Remembering that it's a community thing. To be aware of those in your environment, in your community, is what it's all about. There's all kinds of other hotlines out there. These are other kinds of things that would be helpful for you to have in your local areas, so that if you're dealing with somebody who may have been sexually assaulted or is struggling with grief issues, grief support, or depression, there's, you know, all different types of things in life that contribute to this. So let's see here. And I'm going to stop share. And trying to figure out how to stop the share here. There we go. But the important thing, as I've mentioned several times during this conversation, is truthfully, the main thing for us to do is to be aware of those around us, to know the resources in our area, and to walk alongside and help people that are in crisis, whatever that crisis might be. You're not there to fix it for them. You're there to help them find what's needed. You know, unless you're a professional in this organization or in this work environment as a clinician or something, you know, you're not going to be doing those things. And you probably wouldn't want to do it in this particular circumstance anyhow. You'd want to refer them out because you want to be the chaplain for that person and be somebody you can just help get the help. Any particular questions anybody have on these? I know this is kind of a quick down and dirty, but we had an hour and I just wanted to give you some good understanding of the role of a chaplain. Isn't meant to be, you have to fix it overnight, but you're there to help them along the way.
If you have any questions, please use your reaction buttons and your raised hand feature, and we'll be happy to take your questions as they show up. Frank?
Yes, could you share with us, Ron, how to get more of this training that you're a part of?
Yeah, and that was part of what I had sent to you guys to, and I think you sent out to most everybody. If you go to Assist, they do trainings around the country on this topic. The actual Assist training is a 2-day experiential, really nice training. I mean, you actually do some role playing and all kinds of good stuff. It's a very good certification in understanding suicide awareness. They have other versions. They have a Safe Talk, which is like a half-day workshop type of a thing. But if you go to the website, Living, I'd have to look at it again. I'm fading here, but Living Works, and they have trainings all around the country, similar to critical incident stress management. is another good one to maybe get some training in. And they do those on weekends around the country as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Any questions about the role of a chaplain that you might still be wanting to know about? I've been doing it for 30 plus years as a chaplain and a chaplain trainer. So,
Alan Berry? Your question?
Yes, good evening. I think, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I've heard that it's easy to act okay, but it's easy to fake being okay, but it's hard to fake being depressed. And I think a lot of it is being aware of what you're hearing from someone. Is that correct?
yeah.
Picking up on cues.
Yeah, and that's what I was meaning when, if you get to know your people and talk with your people in your organization, and then you see that the way they're talking or displaying themselves today or the last couple of times you've talked to them isn't their normal self, that's when you just ask them simple questions. Hey, you don't seem to be your normal self. What's going on? Is anything happening in your life? Anything we can help you with? We're here for you. A lot of times people just don't ask the question, and the people are stuck because they don't want to be whining, or we're machos or machoettes, and we just don't want to be a burden. But if you ask the question and they sense that you really are caring with that question, most times they'll open up, because what they really want is help, generally. Let's see, we have Don Spano.
Yeah, Ron, the question I have is, we look at when individuals that are contemplating suicide have no faith, they tend to have no tomorrows and they start spiraling down, as opposed to those that have faith tend to have hope in tomorrow and the next tomorrow. So my question is, where does the spirituality aspect of healing and assistance come into play here?
Okay, again, knowing our people helps, because we know if they are a believing type person or not. And if they're not, then by just asking, I teach my chaplain students, be Columbo, and just quietly, carefully ask a question genuinely that, hey, you're seeming a little different. What's going on? What brings you joy? If they're not spiritual, something in their life has brought them joy. Something in their life has given them meaning. If it was their children, and unfortunately one of them passed, and that's why they're in the depressive state that they're in, then we can maybe make sure that they get some proper counseling or help. If they're not wanting to go to a clergy person because they're not believing, then we refer them and walk alongside them to help them get proper secular help to address whatever the issue is. But asking the questions, as Dr. Bray in the film mentioned, that you can generally get people to talk about it because they want the help. They don't want to feel. The reason why suicide is even an option is because they don't want to feel what they're feeling anymore. And they feel that not feeling at all, meaning not being alive, is the only option. But we give them a possibility, that uncertainty that I showed in that graph, getting them to an uncertainty point of, well, maybe there is something other than suicide. Okay, the chaplain at my unit said that, you know, he noticed I was feeling different or seeming different, and he asked me what was going on, and I told him, and he said that maybe he could help go with me to get proper help. And that changes the whole course, because he finally saw somebody actually cared enough to even ask him about it, and then willing to walk alongside him to go get the help and care enough. And that's all we have to do. We hand it over to a professional, and then we're there as a listening ear and a friend. Hey, how's it going with the professional? And, you know, I wanted to check in on you. It's being real with people. We don't have to make anything up. We don't have to do anything. I mean, we're all veterans. We all, you know, had different experiences, but we all can understand and relate a little bit because we know what it was like. And we're there for one another. That's why we're in these organizations. Any other questions, thoughts?
I've got my hand up.
Okay, I don't see all the pages at one time. That
Okay, it's me, you're on, Dave.
okay.
Number one, if this is just about over, I believe, I would like to thank you so much for your time, Ron, because without it, we wouldn't have had a class at all. And question number two, would you be interested, and would everybody here, would you guys like to hear Ron again? Would you like to come back next month and talk again? Or do
Yes.
you?
I'd be honored to if you guys would be interested. The parts of that film that you were seeing, you can see on YouTube if you want to go to. It was an award-winning film that we put together. It was called Between Iraq and a Hard Place. It's been on Discovery Channel and History Channel also, but you can go to YouTube and just type in Between Iraq and a Hard Place, and you can see it for free. It's mostly the Marines. We didn't script it. Those are my son's unit. They were there, like I said, the first day of the war in Iraq, 2003, and they just talk about what it was like and what helped them. And so if you want to see the whole thing, it's like 90 minutes or whatever. You're welcome to see that.
Well, Ron, from the chats that I'm getting, I believe that people would like to see you again next month. If you would like to prepare something, that would be great. It would be the same time next month. Deb, do you have the date on that one?
It's always the third Wednesday of the month, no matter what date it is. It's the third Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
On a particular topic?
Pete, you're going to have to come on. Pete, what was you saying?
Yeah, I think we'll get our heads together and get some specifics and then get back to Ron. Why don't we do that?
I think that would be best.
And then if some of you chaplains are pursuing this in the secular world and wanting to become chaplains in your community, either with the VA or with hospices or nursing homes or hospitals or whatever, first responders, police departments and stuff. If you're needing CPE, I have connections of getting that training if you're interested in doing that kind of training. Some
Ron?
of you do it for your organization, and that's wonderful, and you don't need that. But if you're looking to make it a profession, we can help with that.
Ron, CPEs are for people that are like with a master's degree Or is it for general use of,
Well, in most cases, that's what large hospitals want. But like if you're wanting to be a chaplain in a hospice or a nursing home, sometimes depending on what kind of degree you have, or you, the thing is, there's a lot of churches out there that don't have degreed ministry. You know, that they have lay ministers, or they have people that have been lay clergy or clergy to their churches and wherever they might live throughout the country. Or you might be a youth minister for 20 years or whatever, and now you're a chaplain in an organization. You want to do that for a living. With your past experiences and your whatever education you have, with CPE training, most places will accept, because what they're really looking for is the CPE training. Some of your larger hospitals will want you to have the MDiv or whatever, but
okay,
the main thing they're looking for is CPE.
okay, thank you.
Is there any more questions out there? Oh, Artie.
Artie Allen.
There we go. Hello, everyone. Apologize for dipping in and out. I was on the road and had my wife driving while I was trying to stay connected in. It looks like, thank you, Chaplain, by the way, and all the chaplains for, I received an invite from my VFW chaplain, and so glad to be here. I'm a first-year trustee, so I'm not a chaplain for my post. However, I have my hands in a number of organizations for, veteran advocacy and so forth, VFW, my county, state, and so forth. And I do get 1 or 2, maybe even 3 calls a month for folks that are in crisis. And also that's why I thought it was important to take every opportunity to get some, suicide awareness training. I'm a 31-year Marine, Master Gunnery Sergeant, retired. And in the video, I see you were a chaplain at MCRD, so I did a tour down there as myself. But yeah, I thought it was important to get some updates because obviously spending almost a decade as an E9, so I had a lot of responsibility for responding to subordinate troops and so forth, and helping with things with the command and so forth. So now I'm in the, kind of in the business primarily of, like you said, helping people find the resources. And also, I'm not pretending to be a clinician or anything like that, or peer support specialist, but I try to do the best that I can with being familiar with who's in the community, where the professionals are, as you indicated in the training. So that's within my role in being an advocate for veterans. That's what I strive to do, or try to be the best at. So thank you again, and yeah, hope to see you again in some more training.
Well, thank you. Hoorah! Yeah, I was an enlisted Marine, staff sergeant on the gunny list when I converted over to being a chaplain.
Oh wow, awesome.
Anybody else?
I just got a chat, and they would like to hear more on the CPE training. I think they just said.
CPE?
Can we get more CPE training? So we can something we can talk about with here shortly, or tomorrow.
What I could do is I could send out some information on it. It's a year-long program, so I mean it's a thorough program wherever you would find it. There's many organizations out there that do it, but there's 3 that are actually recognized by the Association of Theological Schools. So you generally want to get trained by one of the 3.
Perfect. Well, if there's no other questions, we could have our closing prayer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you being here, being willing to do the work that you do. And, these aren't the ideal doing it on Zoom, but it is when we're all over the world. It'd be so much nicer and probably hopefully smoother if we were in person. But I appreciate you being here tonight.
I sure appreciate you, Ron, for all you've done just for this meeting alone, because as we know, I'm not a trainer and I don't have near the experiences that you do. So that is great. So thank you. And thank you again for coming back next month, and hope to see everybody again. We had 60 participants at the most. That's probably the most we've had. So, but for now, go ahead and let's all bow our heads. Lord, let us depart in peace and in love and charity with our comrades. May we be joined together in the common goal of service to our God and country. May we all be of any use that we can to help anybody from committing suicide. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
If the training staff, Peter Hook, Jim, Dave, me, Dale, and Frank would stay online, the rest of you have a nice day and thank you for coming.
Have a blessed rest of the week.
Good night, if you haven't gotten on my email list, there's my name, Peter Hook at Verizon.net. Send me an email and I'll add you to the list, and then you'll be notified.
Deb, is there anything you or Dave have that needs to be passed on to Andrew where he wasn't here tonight?
You were here. Whatever you want to tell him's fine.
Okay.
And tell him that the gentleman's coming back next time, and we'll have some more chaplain type questions. And since Andrew is working on ordination and stuff, this may be something that he'd be more interested in because he's getting the education and stuff. So that would probably be a good idea.
Yeah, he's actually scheduling some his discernment really soon. He told me to pass that along to you. I guess
We'll keep him in prayer.
I'm kind of his unofficial assistant now, so
there you go. There you go. We all need one of those.
Okay.
Thank
you guys. You guys have a great night.
You too. Good night, everybody. We're just keeping our staff online. So if you go ahead and leave the room on your own, that would be appreciated.
We're down to 14.
Yep, we got some that's coming. I can remove them, but I don't like to do that.
Might remove the wrong ones.
Sorry. Well, yeah, and I don't know if it'll mess them up, so I'm not going to do that. But if you can go ahead and hit the leave room button, that would be great, and then we can have a little staff meeting. I'm always worried somebody fell asleep and they're just sitting in their chair asleep and don't realize we're signing out.
Looks like we have Esteban still on and Dave Derringer.
And Jim Stiles. I can remove them.
Hey, thanks, Esteban. Appreciate you, buddy, being out there, and thank you for your notes.
Well, we got one left.
Well, I'm actually removing them so that we can have a meeting. I live in mortal fear that they're asleep. Okay, that's the 6 of us. Yay! That was a good thing. The only thing was that the sound wasn't good on that one video, but the lady that was complaining, I'm not sure who she was, and I couldn't find her. So I'm sitting here trying to go through the whole gallery, trying to find her, and finally found her, and then I muted her. I don't think she was meaning for everybody to hear everything she was saying, but anyway, we got taken care of. Life is good. So thank you for finding that gentleman. Frank, you found him?
Yeah, just
yes, that was all Frank.
Divine appointment that he showed up at my state chaplain's meeting, because I thought he used to be a state chaplain for DAV, but he moved to the East Coast. And he goes, "Oh, I think I'm at your meeting by mistake." And once I got to talk to him, I go, "No, wait."
I don't know
so
who
I
this
introduced him
is.
to Dave. What a nice guy.
Yeah.
Aaron,
You look,
hold on, let me get this person to realize that they're at the wrong time. Aaron, you need to leave the meeting because the meeting's over. It's gone. Yeah, so things that I would like that guy to talk about is CPEs. Most chaplains don't need it, but I think our senior chaplains at like state headquarters and stuff should have at least knowledge of that because they can advise their other chaplains about it. I don't know, any training that makes you better is probably desirable.
yeah, I'm good with whatever. That would be fine with me if you wanted to talk on that.
So
Might
do
be
we
for a
want,
very limited audience though, because
yeah, it would
generally
be.
if you do CP, you need a seminary degree.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me say this. This sheet, which is the basis of the program that he used tonight, he actually could do the first one, you listen, and the second one you're gaining an understanding, and then you're facilitating and helping the person develop a plan of action. If he would come back and do kind of a little, just maybe a 5-minute overview, and then CPE focuses with us, the chaplain, the individual, being in that first phase where you're listening, because CPE will teach them how to listen and how to give Rogerian responses. Like somebody says, I'm really upset. Oh, you're upset. In other words, you listen and you guide, but you don't direct. So CPE teaches the chaplains or the individuals how to listen and respond to the individual without directing the conversation, allowing the person that you're listening to actually guide it. So I think he could explain what CPE is, clinical pastoral education is,